Hello, baddies. This is Nicole here. I just want to let you know this is a recap for episode 2. Our recap for episode 1 is in another video. You can find the link of that below if you're watching on YouTube, in the episode bio if you are on a podcast app. So, this is just your fair warning. We're only going to be talking about episode 2 in this one, and then we have a separate video for episode 3. Enjoy.
All right, episode 2 starts. Parvati. She gets her letter. She gets to be a traitor. First of all, Parvati's looking like Blair Waldorf. I don't know if you ever watched Gossip Girl.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily upset with. I mean, I love a look, you know what I'm saying, and everything like that. But the headband thing, it was giving a little Clueless vibes,
prep school. You go
right.
to prep school. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's her personal style, but I've seen, her outside of these situations. I don't think I've ever seen her in a headband.
No.
But, what?
I think everyone's coming with their own costumes for a murder mystery, and that's just
exactly.
So the reasons why Phaedra says that Parvati has murdering in her blood. Dan says this person is cunning and deceptive. So Parvati is our new traitor.
Honestly, the only person I feel like that would be parallel as far as decision would be Sandra. They're two sides of the same coin. Honestly, you can't go wrong with either one.
Totally. I don't know if Dan has any ties to Parvati where that kind of leaned one more way or the other. But
they had a lot of moments. They had a couple of moments, and I felt like he lied to her face twice on camera. About being a traitor. And I felt like that was even more perfect because when she gets there and sees that it's them, it's like, wow. Because you could see her reaction. She was shocked. She was like, oh, these guys are good. Because she got. He was like, oh, yeah, I think when they were outside. And then I believe it was when they were going up the steps, going to bed. They were walking together. So clearly there was chemistry between the two of them. And I'm sure she was really, really impressed, with their game.
Totally. So now we gotta murder somebody. Our first murder. So Dan wants to murder someone who causes confusion, maybe like Kevin. For some reason, we get a shot of Kevin in the bathtub. Why?
Yeah, if you're ever gonna look like a lame duck, the bathtub, me and my brothers used to talk about it. You ever got a whooping coming out of the shower or something? You're so vulnerable. Oh my God. It's how could this even happen? So I feel like them catching him when he was in the tub, it was oh, this guy's chilling, so unsuspected, so, but you're right. That did make me laugh. I'm like, okay, where's this going? Where are we going? Where are we going with this?
And then Dan says maybe Johnny Bananas because he would be onto them. Phaedra wants to keep Bananas because of the mission. So she's following your line of thinking more so. Right. And then Dan asked about Peppermint and said that she also might be onto him eventually. Phaedra says that Peppermint is an encyclopedia when it comes to reality TV, which I think is very interesting. I kind of wonder what those conversations were like if Peppermint's oh, I know this about you, this about you. Later on, we find out Peppermint was the most popular. So we know, I was trying to say this to someone who has been on reality TV, but I was like, these reality TV people love it.
No, hey, look, I was on reality TV for 2 seconds. It's no big deal. But they really they had a great list. And sometimes I feel like the people that they're trying to vote out, I'm like, okay. But they really hit some of the people that I was thinking too. Peppermint, I mean, she obviously very intuitive, not scared to speak her mind, obviously a leader. Those types of things in a group setting can really highlight you and really put a target on your back. And then like Phaedra said, encyclopedia, where'd she get that from? was she dropping, like you said, like name dropping or like running off facts, running off someone's resume? That's
Mhm.
never a good thing. So
Right.
I wasn't surprised about that. The Johnny Bananas thing, I guess it's just my survivor heart. It's like keep the tribe strong. You know what I mean? So why are we going
Mm.
for people that can help in the challenges in the
Mm.
beginning? I don't really like that, but I guess that's just my inner like shield talking or whatever. Like I'm usually even more of like a challenge type person. So I don't know. It was some good ones, but I was just kind of like I
Yeah.
didn't really like that Bananas was on the list. I'm not gonna lie, but it made sense, I guess. Like he's so big, you know,
Yes.
too big to fail, too big to be number one
Yeah.
out. So you know, and then we saw.
Okay, so I just finished House of Villains, where Bananas
Okay.
was on it, and he
Yes.
made it to the very end of that show. And at that point, it's like a middle ground, maybe, of like, how did you let him get this far?
Right. No,
After
seriously.
everything. Next morning, after
Mhm.
murders, we eat breakfast together. Everyone's coming in slowly in waves. Trishelle of the challenge has a story for everyone, and it is, well, she was talking to Peppermint and she said, well, okay, if I get murdered, then you're a traitor, she says as a joke. And then she said Peppermint took it so seriously,
I hated
like
this.
daggers. But then the editors were like, hold up, what?
I
Because
hated this, man. I hated
no,
this.
we get a flashback.
Yeah.
Trishelle does say this, and Peppermint's just like,
Yeah, I feel like she just has an expressive
yeah.
face. You know, like I mean, she comes from the drag world. It's no secret.
Mhm.
They are known for being able to emote and do all this crazy stuff. Like they
Absolutely.
lip sync for a living. Like I don't feel like her expression was any higher than anything else that she would do ever in life.
I
You
think
know,
her expression was giving same playful, like, oh, you just said that? Okay.
right? Like
And in Trichelle's retelling, it's like she was so angry. And it's like she didn't look angry at all. She was
But
just
we can
like,
talk
that's
about black
close.
perception all day, though. We can talk. I mean,
Absolutely.
if you want to take it that way, I mean, it's like for whatever reason, all of our emotions are magnified to the perceivers. I don't want to just say like white people or really any other uh,
Mhm.
ethnicity that isn't African American or African
Mhm.
or of African descent, however you want to phrase
Mhm.
it. It's We're always highlighted to be so hyperbolic when it's not the case. It's not the
Mhm.
case. And I hated that she was ostracized like that and or made especially highlighted by Trishelle in a way that just wasn't the truth. And they replayed it so many times it just made me even
Yeah.
more upset. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
She's not even doing anything. Oh
Trishelle
my goodness.
truly grasping at straws.
Right.
And I agree. And like Peppermint being trans adds a whole other layer to this too.
Exactly.
So, but
Exactly.
you
The
know,
intimidation factor was at an all-time high, and Trishelle just couldn't. She couldn't cope with it, so she highlighted her as a target.
oh,
And I understand, you know what I'm saying? Like those women, they're fierce, they're unapologetic, they're themselves.
yeah,
So maybe she just felt a little hit by it, and she started throwing, some
yeah.
daggers at her. And unfortunately, it was so early in the game that Peppermint hadn't laid down enough trust, with us or had an alliance that could really back her up.
I
That's
think
the issue.
I think Peppermint had a fighting chance, but
Mm.
I'll tell you when like it slowly started unraveling. Because like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
She got caught up a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. So everyone is wondering who was recruited to be a traitor, because I know that is the case. Now, Deontay talk a lot. He talk a lot.
He does, and that's honestly like he could be so good. He could go so far, but I do feel like he be saying too much sometimes.
Too much.
Like
Every thought is out
just
there.
drop a couple crumbs and keep it pushing. Like he
Yeah.
keeps going and he's so influential that
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm worried for my boy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, he's like, I can't take this. It's like,
Right.
please remember, it's a game. Just stay in it.
It's hard to remember it's a game. Look, I cried
Yeah.
multiple times when I was on the season because it's so just like I got balloons. It's so just like it's your life. Like reality TV is our life for
Yeah.
that period of time that we are there. We're reflections of the real world. So when you do something and it contrasts with your moral compass, it's
Yeah.
very hard to be like, wow, like looking in the mirror later, like, am I this person? You know, like,
Mhm.
is this really me? What's going on? You know,
Yeah,
so it's crazy.
it is. Well, Kevin and Peppermint are the last ones to walk in. This means Banana is our first one to get murdered. And
No!
no, like it's a lot. So he
Man,
claims that the show's going to be a lot less fun now. He was little. That's his last word.
I agree. I agree. Like, you never know what's gonna come out of that guy's mouth. He's perfect.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he's been on TV so much.
Mhm.
People love him. People love to hate him, and it's unfortunate that he got chopped first. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So Deontay asked Peppermint to explain the situation with Trishelle, which I'm kind of happy he gives that opportunity to Peppermint.
Yeah.
So, Peppermint gets up, stands before Trishelle, and was just, if you get murdered, it might be by my look, but it won't because I'm a traitor.
Right.
So, Trishelle
I
just,
feel like she could have done more in that moment, but I understand again, being from the drag world, you know what I'm saying? Like she's a performer. So
yeah.
immediately she's going to a tagline like, okay, I'm about to read her down. You know, it's like
Mhm.
that's from her world. And I don't feel like it landed like she thought it would with the people that were around.
I disagree. I disagree
Okay.
because I think if she actually left it there, everyone would be like, yeah, okay. Like,
Hmm.
Peppermint's here to be that girl, that cute girl. Like, I like Peppermint. Like, I think my whole perspective on who was more on Trishelle versus Peppermint's side is when later in the mission it comes up that Peppermint is indeed the most popular. So,
Yeah, I feel like in that, okay, so I guess it's just from like our background, right? You have a disagreement with somebody on your tribe. And I made this mistake on my season, not coming to Emily and trying to just squash beef one on one. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there was kind of like a missed opportunity with her. She could have just been like, look, Trishelle, like I don't know if I'm like intimidating. Like really, it's kind of like dog whistle politics. You know, calling somebody out for doing something that could be offensive. Highlight them in a way that gets the target off your back, but have a genuine conversation so that everything's out in the open. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like her kind of like hitting her with the cheerleading rah rah line. It kind of missed the intimate moment that she could have had with herself, just to be like, hey, look, I don't know, like I'm a lot more expressive. You know what I'm saying? I it's unfortunate that you're highlighting me for something that is me, and just have that human moment with her. I feel like that would have got her further with Trishelle because that's where the fire was. Like, yeah, we have all these little mini fires, but the main source of the fire was Trishelle out here, lighting matches all day with different conversations.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I think I don't know. I don't know Trishelle, first of all.
Yeah,
A lot of people got
I
us
don't either.
a lot of people have things to say of like, Trishelle has a history on the
Mhm,
challenge that might
mhm,
be coming into play with how she's interacting with Peppermint. I
mhm.
don't know. But what I do know is like in this game, why even make a joke like, well, if I die, you're a traitor? Like it just feels to me like Trishelle just had it out of like, I want Peppermint out for whatever reason. And so I don't know if
Could have been.
any one-on-one would have
Would have
been,
saved her.
but it's
Yeah,
just
I
a
mean,
whole better.
hey, I can't. You can what if yourself to death, and I do that all the
Yeah.
time. But I know that was the big difference between me and Caleb
Mhm.
versus me and Emily versus Caleb and Emily.
Yeah.
Caleb, he had that one-on-one moment with her. They were able
Mhm.
to eventually form an alliance behind my back and go to the
Mhm.
end. And we're
Mhm.
both, African American descent. We both Emily dealt with some things in our season about us being highlighted together, and stuff like that. So I kind of equate this to that kind of moment, like when you're highlighted because of your personality. Like I'm a very like straight shooting, get the work done kind of person. And that rubbed Emily the wrong way for some reason, in the beginning. And she ended up apologizing to me. And when I were really great friends, but it's just when you come from such different worlds, it's intimidating. It's intimidating, especially, strong, Black, beautiful woman, transgender. Like, how much more yourself can you be? So I feel like it kind of put Trishelle in that situation. But having that one-on-one like Caleb had with Emily, he's same goofy, pretty smile, big hair. He was just like, hey, I'm not against you. Actually, I want to work with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And Peppermint later says that, but she says it at the round table of like, why did you never just pull aside me instead of talking to everyone else? Yeah. And I guess what you're saying is like Peppermint should have taken the initiative. But it's like, Trishelle was going to anyone who listened. So it's very frustrating.
Exactly. It's very hard. You might as well just start with the source,
Yeah.
The source. Get Trishelle out of there. She's ruining everything, Everything. Like we gotta put some type of smother on this fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cast, they leave the dining room to talk elsewhere. Tamara says John is probably a traitor because he's a politician, which I thought was so interesting. I'm not surprised this reasoning came up. I'm surprised Tamara said it.
I mean, hey, never trust a politician. You learn that from birth in America. Hey guys, these guys are shady, slimy. Even the cartoon politicians, you can't trust. So I don't feel like there's any type of issue with them highlighting him. Now, are they wrong? We know that they're wrong, but they don't. So just trying to kind of gather that, it makes sense. It makes sense to me.
Yeah. Peter brings up John's breathing. So this is just now a growing. It's a growing.
Yeah, having him reiterate that was pretty crazy. I was just like, okay, like the guy has asthma. Let it go, or whatever he has. COVID, whatever it is. He has a cold. He's a billion years old, having a hanky on his face. Whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's fine. I don't feel like they were I mean, everybody's throwing so many daggers, but that one was stupid. It was a rubber one.
All right, we have a new mission. So the groups have to get to a field as fast as they can for $20,000. They must give their opinions on their fellow players, and there are 3 shields amongst the gold. So there are all the different teams going down this field. The first question they're hit with, whose opinion you value the most, Larsa or Marcus? Who did you think was going to win this?
Marcus.
Marcus wins it. Next was this a good or a bad sign of Marcus's game?
I felt like it was a good sign and a bad sign. Good because people appreciate his opinion, which in this show, that's everything, like what people think you contribute to the game, whether people trust you. Obviously, he was in a good seat there. Bad because it highlights him, and now he's on everyone's radar, including the Traitors. Yeah. So it's such a like a kind of song and dance, like teeter-totter you have to do with this game, honestly. Like, it's a lot of luck involved as well, I feel like, because anything you do can be bad for someone or be good for someone. So it's interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
The next question we have, first of all, Red Team. Red Team has Bergie, Tamara, Trishelle, Phaedra, and John. John's running. John fell. Yo. I think John's going to be dragged to the end because no one's going to believe he's a traitor. I know he's a politician, but like he's giving that.
He runs like a chicken, it's just like legs. Like he was, oh man. And I didn't. I hope he didn't sustain any injuries from his fall because
No.
it did look really mean. And but God, I would be lying if I said I didn't chuckle a little bit like John.
It's good TV.
Somebody get John up, man. Get him up.
Tamara asked
my
him
goodness.
if he has an inhaler on him, and he doesn't have one. And she was like, that's weird. First of all, I have asthma. I do not have an inhaler. Healthcare in this country sucks.
Exactly. And I mean, it's no different. Like, asthma is like kind of like having allergies. Like, do you carry an EpiPen everywhere you go? No. I know I was allergic to peanuts when I was younger. Definitely. But do we have my, ready to jab me everywhere I was? No. Like, it's just not something that people really think about. I mean, I guess being on a show, you do have to go through medical clearances and stuff like that. So maybe it might have come up, but it's not severe. I feel like they're doing too much. Clearly, he can run. He was booking it. Like he was really chopping it up. So I feel like they need to let that go. Let my boy live.
They will not. They will not.
Right.
They won't even let him breathe. So
exactly.
So. But so the next question they come across: who is the most popular, Deontay or Peppermint? So the team we're watching, they first say Deontay. It's Team Blue, and Peppermint's in this. First of all, most awkward situation. I would hate this if I was part of this question and people are debating this in front of me.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, at the same time, they're all reality TV stars. It's not new to them to have to talk about people, whether it's behind their back or in front of their face or to a camera off the, to the side or whatever. So
very messy. So yeah, at first they're like, it's Deontay, but then they're like, but Peppermint. So they're carrying Peppermint's scarecrow. Then they're like, maybe we should go back for Deontay's. Peppermint was the answer. So like, what were your thoughts of this whole situation?
Watching this group do challenges stresses me out. Honestly, like there's never really a leader. There's never really like a legitimate plan outside of when Bergie Licious stepped up and everything like that. That was the first time I've ever seen them really be fine-tuned with anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it was just a lot of breakdowns in communication and a lot of bad ideas. But yeah.
Yeah. Our last question. Who needs to speak more, Dan or Shrey? Dan says he only wants to speak when spoken to.
Weird. Why would you say that?
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
There's been a couple times where I'm just like, damn, brother, what's going on? Why would you say that? Like, oh, I'm just quiet. It's like, okay, well, be unquiet because it's a problem. You're not. I don't feel like he's even really that quiet per se. Like, I mean,
no,
I feel like he's carrying a lot of anxiety and he's cloaking it with him saying like, oh, I'm just a quiet person. But no, quiet people are quiet people. All right. Like I'm kind of quiet. If I'm not drinking, like the cast knows, my family knows, if I'm not drinking, I'm pretty, I'll speak, if we got conversation going on, but otherwise I'm just kind of observant. But I don't look like I'm, like kind of like lurking or like anything. I'm just chilling. Yeah. He doesn't give off the impression that he's chilling. He gives off the impression that he's in his head. Yep. And for a game like this, that's not good. You don't want to look like you're in your head.
Yep, I agree.
Right.
I honestly think Dan is older, and that's just part of the natural thing. I think when you also get older, you're less risk averse. So I think I think that might be coming into play. He's just like,
I don't know. This is not a young cast. You know what I mean?
It's not.
Yeah, I'm not trying to take shots at anybody's, I'm not like against age. I'm not ageist or whatever, but there's a lot of people that are up there, that are well, announced in their careers and stuff like that. Like, absolutely. I don't know. I think that Dan that's his tell and everybody's seeing it. It's kind of like he's really bad at poker right now. Like he's being highlighted time after time. And fortunately, he just has such big personalities in the way so that he can, but he's not going to be able to hide for long. You know, he's not going to be able to hide for long.
That's very true. I
Right.
think when I bring up his age, it's definitely not like in comparison to anyone else. I think it's like thinking of Dan Younger, who did Dan's funeral on Big Brother,
Right.
which meant like a very charismatic speech and move as the Hail Mary. Like,
Yeah.
I think for Dan, maybe his strategy has just changed, because
Okay.
I'm always seeing online people being like, "We know Dan's a great Big Brother player, right?" And it's like,
Right.
yeah, but also he's changed a lot, learned a lot. He probably is just less risk averse now.
Hey,
And
look, and that could be it. Like I know
yeah,
if I play again, I'm not gonna be the same version of
yep,
myself the next time. So, you have a really good point there. Honestly, like I just feel like the pivots and oh man, me and Caleb, like I talk to Caleb all the time, and if it's like a 2 hour conversation, and we consistently always talk about the ability to assess and pivot is probably the most important thing in a reality game
absolutely.
show. It's like being that self-aware that in the moment you can be like, my cover is blown, I have to adjust. And we saw it with Gabler, like that was the reason why he ended up winning at the end, was he realized he was too high on the radar, came up with another plan at night or whatever. Same thing with Tony, like always reinventing himself, always coming up with a different way to play the game and winning because of it. So I feel like that's more so what I'm saying. It's like, okay, if you're getting the constant feedback, it's not like they're holding back. They're coming to like, Dan, you don't talk enough. What's going on? I don't trust you. And he's just not doing anything about it. I'm
Nope.
just like, dude, what's going on?
I do also wonder if this shady question was like producers, like, Dan, we want you around. This is your one warrant. You need to speak up. Dan goes for the double bluff, he says, by going for the shield. So it looks like he needed it. And he is the only one who gets the shield. So that's cool for the Traitors. Smart move, bad move. What's your thoughts?
Good move. You're high profile. You got to start making stuff up. You know, if there's anything that makes you look desperate, makes you look like you're faithful, it's running for a shield. Like, it's kind of like, okay, like kind of obvious, but at the same time, I feel like he couldn't really afford to let things go any further without doing something drastic. So, yeah.
All right. So after
Dan, I'm sorry. If you see this, I'm beating you up right now, buddy. But this was really. I feel like I'm like really like squatting on him, but it was a lot of mistakes. I felt like I mean, fortunately, they've been able to hang on and everything like that. But when you're only in a group of 3 versus everyone else, it's like these types of mistakes this early. It might not come up now, but there's a significant breadcrumb trail back to you right now. So I'm hoping we can sweep some stuff under the rug, in the future.
Absolutely. Everyone's back in the castle talking. Peppermint is talking to a group in the kitchen, and she says she doesn't like being accused of things she didn't do. Then she gets tongue-tied and said, if Trishelle is really concerned about not banishing a traitor, I mean, not banishing a faithful, Larsa and Ikinsu are like, what did she just say? Meanwhile, Trishelle's in the other room. She's talking to Max about Peppermint. And I don't watch Dancing with the Stars like that. I don't know what Max's whole, what people think of him. But
Right.
I love I feel like you can tell he's European because he just doesn't deal with nonsense. He was just like, this is a non-story. He was like, I was in the room. This is a non-story that you're doing right now.
Exactly. They're always just show themselves. And that's really what I was getting to when I was saying the Brits and the Aussies and stuff like that. Like he reminds me of that type of castmate where they're just gonna be like, hey man, I don't like you, or I feel like you're trying to rustle up some bad chat or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he was right to call her out, okay.
Yeah.
but
Sounds
not
like
really. But okay,
BSC.
yeah, I feel like that's them. Yeah, like
Ukraine.
I mean, hey, look,
That,
Ukraine.
yeah.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah. So
Huge
we'll
deal. Yeah,
be
So
editing.
that's Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe.
Yes. So, all right. So we get our first banishment ceremony. Everyone's at this table again. And Peppermint starts it off, which honestly, I don't think she should have done this. I don't think she should have started, because it's just like, see if someone else brings it up. Hopefully we're moved past this. But then she
Past
also
it,
knew she
exactly.
slipped up. She knew she slipped up saying traitor. So I don't know, but
Yeah, I, it did kind of like if she was any more highlighted, the marker would be through the page. You know, like it was just she.
right.
You know, so hearing her talk first, it was, and she like stood up and everything. Like it was just like, Pep, what you doing,
Yeah.
girl? No, get
Yeah.
out of there. But
She just doesn't know how to
yeah,
fly under the radar. She's a
and
star. She's
that's
a
not
star.
her exactly. I can't. That's not her, and I feel like that's why people like Mac or people like were able to kind of like say like no, like she's just genuine. Like
Mhm.
you know, come off that a little bit. She doesn't. She's not doing anything. She just seems like herself.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I did not agree with her going first either. I feel like she should have made the burden of proof fall on Trishelle. And just
Mhm.
assume that she's innocent till proven guilty instead of acting
Yeah.
guilty. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know why it seemed like Max was the only one who brought up like being in the room, because this all happened publicly. So, but
Right. And that goes with it being the first thing. It's kind of like
mhm.
first travel. Nobody wants to be the first out.
Yeah.
So the people that would normally speak, when it comes to like the second or third tribal, probably aren't saying much in the beginning because they're just trying to figure out, okay, like how is this gonna go? I don't want to highlight myself. They're probably also very like paranoid about everything that they have done and everything that they have said and things like that. Like I don't know if anybody's plotting on me, so I'm not even gonna say anything. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
let the chips fall where they may. So I feel like, and again, like Pepper, her talking in the beginning, it's like, okay, now we have a story, now we have a direction, and everybody can
Mhm.
just shift their energy towards that. But yeah, she broke rule number one: never be the first person to talk
Yeah.
in vote out tribal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, well, Sheree did back up Peppermint in the
yeah,
exchange and said that it was a joking situation. Max says
right.
Trishelle bringing this up was strange. You're strange, Trishelle. And Peppermint continues to call out Trishelle for not speaking to her about the
Yeah,
situation before going to everyone else.
right.
And all of a sudden, Trishelle accuses her of being disrespectful, tells her to keep her hand out her face.
Hmm.
So Peppermint seems to be looking forward, has her hand up while
Yeah,
Trishelle is next to. It's not in her face. She didn't go like this. She wasn't even like, and
right.
it wasn't
I didn't
until
like
Trishelle.
any of that. Oh my goodness, it was so cringy. I did not like any of it. Honestly, I felt like she knew that she was wrong, felt bad, and then tried to make it into more than it
Mm-hmm,
was. Because, like you
mm-hmm,
said, they have what, maybe like a foot and a half of me space when they're at that table. So if I'm
mm-hmm,
a person that talks with my hands, and you
mm-hmm,
happen to be sitting right next to me,
mm-hmm.
honestly, I wanted Pepper. She did amazing in that
Yep,
situation. I'm
yep,
so proud of just her ability to remain calm, because I don't know if I would have been able to
yeah,
do that, because she was being very condescending,
yep,
very dismissive, and Pepper is about to get voted off the show. Like she is giving it everything she has. She has every right to. So
uh-huh,
I hated the minimization. It was very manipulative. And if anything, if I'm a faithful in that situation, I'm looking at Trishelle like
yeah,
you're really going really hard right now. You're really trying to pass the blame. we should just vote
Exactly.
you out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think she can see some of the heat was getting on to her, and then was moving accordingly. But yeah, this was
Well,
disgusting.
it's an age-old story, you know. And once somebody's highlighted and they know they're caught in the wrong, they try to make it seem like you are having a scene. You
Yep.
know, ma'am, yes,
After being the instigator.
relax.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you see it all the time. And oh man, I hate even going this way, but you see it all the time in like those cop videos. It's like
Yep.
they're obviously the aggressor, obviously, and then once the person that is getting interrogated is finally fed up with the situation,
Yep.
now all of a sudden they're the facilitator of the peace. So you can't be the aggressor and the facilitator of
Pick
peace at
one.
the same time. Yeah, pick a side, Michelle. Pick a side. You can't do that. So when she goes from coming at her and then being like, you need to calm down. Wow. That is such a harsh pivot, but it's something that we see all the time, especially in black spaces or white spaces, you know. So it was unfortunate that played out that way, but it was so spot on to things that happen all the time in our society, in our world.
Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna try to get Peppermint on to talk.
Oh, I hope so, Pep. I love you genuinely, and I'm so sorry that happened. Like that, it was hard to watch, especially a person, member of the so many communities where we share. I did not like that one bit, and I that's why honestly, like the Deontay thing, like I keep bringing it up at the end. That's how I felt like I felt too, because it's just like, man, like you're watching somebody get reamed over the coals. She's not a traitor, but she's being made to seem like she is just because of herself and who she is, her personality. Like that was really rough. That was really rough.
Yeah, it was. And like a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a game move and everything. I think the minute she accused Peppermint of being disrespectful is like it wasn't game anymore. And that's what me
it's saying that at the table when people are trying to figure out what they're doing and now highlighting her as potentially like somebody that's not a good person in general. Like that's outside of the game. You know, nobody likes disrespect and everything like that. So it's Trishella, it was really distasteful to me.
In the end, Peppermint gets voted out. But she has a great last words. She says that she came to the show to use her platform for the transgender community, and I will keep being myself. That will never stop. And period.
Salute to you, Pepper. Loved it. I felt like the time that she spent was well spent. But I was and can we just talk about the look that she gave, the turnaround look?
Yes.
That they did right before commercial break. I was like, okay, girl, exactly. Turn it on. Hold the moment, you know, like take us to RuPaul right quick. You know what I mean? Like that was everything. I was so glad that she was like, you know what? That happened. We're moving forward. I'm about to give this look. I'm about to give this face. You know, last time you see my face, it's gonna be perfect and amazing. So she was really went out with a lot of class.
I know. She left me wanting more. Like I was like, no,
yeah. I hope they bring her back.
And it's like, it was a great exit. Great exit.
Super.
That is definitely getting my beautiful black moment. The chaotic bi moment. It doesn't always have to be by a bisexual, which shout out to Parvati. I don't know how she identifies, but still.
Like, right. No, yeah. TV, but posted that was a moment and everything like that. So I'm super, super happy with that. But I didn't really have one for the first episode. I was trying to think earlier when you were like suggesting that, but
my chaotic bi is the tongue tie moment. I just feel like, us bisexuals were not always trusted, and it was just a very like, what? Was that a moment? And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, okay. I can see how you could put that together. Yeah, because like it's like, okay, like what's going on, and you got to say things that you don't mean. And it's like, I actually in the moment, I got kind of taken away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear you.
But yeah, the beautiful Black moment to me is then Peppermint's speech.
I'm just gonna go with what I said before when Deontay Wilder was so emotional after they picked the wrong person, and voted out Peppermint, as the being the faithful. And he felt so just like, wow, like we really ganged up on her and we really like ostracized her, and she's literally just pleading her case in the corner. How many, you know, Black women, men can relate to feeling ostracized for no reason,
Yep.
feeling like we have to code switch or we have to like blend into the background just to not offend anyone or not, step on anyone's toes. And it's not a secret that she's probably the biggest personality in the house,
Yeah.
so her being highlighted so early, kind of stopping her journey before she could really. I mean, of course, there's always transgender awareness and stuff like that, but she didn't really get into the thicket of the season, which was disappointing. And
Yeah.
so I definitely empathized with him. It actually made me tear up seeing him that emotional for somebody, just because we share a lot of the same stories, just because we're all skin folk and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
touching.
It was.